In this episode of TQA Weekly, I talk about how to determine if your wireless LAN is actually hacked and what to do about it if it is. My name is Steve Smith, this is TQA Weekly, and if ever you have any questions, comments, suggestions, and or stories, those horror stories, which I'm going to get into a little later, you can always email me at ask@tqaweekly.com. You can go to my website, tqaweekly.com, and use either the comments engine for each of the episodes, or the contact form to contact me directly. And of course, if you're watching on YouTube, blip.tv, or anywhere else I post every week, you can always comment down below. This specific episode of TQA Weekly is brought to you by ProXpn. ProXpn is a virtual private network that allows you to use the internet the way it should be. Anonymously and without oversight. For 20% off your new account, go to proxpn.com/podcasts and use the coupon code TQAWEE, and that helps out the show a lot. So for those who didn't know, I do like myself a nice PC horror story, and I got one this week, a supposedly hacked wireless LAN. And I'm going to be explaining to you how to determine if you're actually being hacked and what to do about it, as well as give you a little bit more insight into the consequences and also the alternative solutions you can actually use. So first, we need to understand something. You need a complete list of every single one of your devices, MAC addresses, and remember, for each wireless or wired connection on that device, it will have a separate MAC address. So if it's got 2 Ethernet ports and a wireless, it's going to have 3. If it has a wireless, it's going to have 1. If it has 2 Ethernets, it's going to have 2. Basically, make a full collective inventory of everything that connects onto your network. You're going to need this in about a second. Then you're going to actually connect it to your router through the web browser through an address that will either be 192.168. And this is where it differs, 1.1.0.1 or .2.1. So it's going to be either one of those. And then you're going to have to log into basically where they have the DHCP reservation or status list of your router. It differs from router to router, so I can't show you a picture because mine's a D-Link, and Asus and Linksys don't look the same as these, as well as all the other manufacturers like TP-Link and all those that actually produce their own routers with their own firmware. But what you need to do is to check that list. Keep in mind, if this is a passive connector, this person might not actually show up in that list at the time that you're actually checking this up. So you're going to have to check that list several times to determine if you're actually having a spontaneous invisible connector. They won't know you're trying to do this because this doesn't show up in the network whatsoever. So you're going to check that list. Chances are it's your imagination, but it does happen. So if you do find an intruder, what can you do? Well, the first thing you're going to realize is you can actually revoke the lease of the connection. This does absolutely nothing. Basically, you will kick them, but since the computer they're using will already have the password, it will just re-ask for a lease for their IP address. It will ask the DHCP, which will give it a new IP address, and you'll sit there all day long trying to revoke the lease. Since that doesn't actually do anything, you're going to have to do something a little bit more radical. So first things first, you're probably using an oversimplified password. Change it. The most complicated gibberish you've ever seen in your life. Use it, because the more complicated and random the password is, the less likely they're going to guess what the password is. Now, with that list that I told you to get, you're going to use the MAC address filter as a whitelist. Now, this does not prevent hardcore expert connectors, hackers from getting into your network, but that complicated password will. But if somebody got the password and didn't know how to clone their own MAC address to be something else, this will at least prevent them from ever connecting to your network. And then finally, you may want to consider hiding your SSID. I know it's broadcasted with every single packet, but if you're hiding your SSID, if there's no computer connected whatsoever, it is not necessarily broadcasting its own SSID, therefore it is harder to target. People will be able to detect the fact that you have wireless. They won't necessarily know what the name of it is, and that is a requirement of connecting to your SSID. Now, for those who didn't know, what is the damage that somebody can do connected to your wireless? Before I explain to you the other two things that you need to turn off. So, what can be leveraged against your router? One, they can actually view your shared files. In many cases in Windows, shared files are open to everybody. So you might want to consider closing your shared folders and making sure that nobody can access these files. You especially want to make sure nobody can write to a shared folder, since that means that they could potentially infect your computer with a multitude of nasty viruses. On top of that, they can leverage programs like FireSheep, which will allow them to impersonate you online by stealing your online sessions. And if it wasn't bad enough, it is possible for somebody to use a special kind of wireless network adapter card to actually passively collect all the data from the network, since all the data is continuously being broadcasted to every single connection. What's different about most LAN cards and wireless cards is they only read the information destined to them. Other passive promiscuous cards will read all the information coming in. So they'll be able to get all your unencrypted emails and passwords and usernames and everything else that's being transmitted on the network on the fly. So yes, it is a very bad thing. The next topic is going to be very hard for some people to swallow, but it is possible that if you're torrenting, you get caught, obviously. But if somebody else is downloading torrents on your connection, you can get caught for something else somebody else did, and it is really hard to prove that it is not you. So that can also cost you a lot of money. So what did I say before? Really extremely complicated password. You're going to want to use the MAC address filtering as a whitelist, and you're going to consider hiding your SSID. One of the other things that you might want to actually understand is you want to turn off UPnP, Universal Plug and Play, since that can also be leveraged against your router and open up your firewall to lots of dangers online. And they probably connected by WPS, the Wireless Protected System, whatever they want these router companies. It is not actually a feature, it's a handicap to routers. It doesn't allow you to connect securely enough, and I've already talked about that in a previous episode. You want to disable that. That way they can't get back in. If you don't have UPnP, they can't open up the firewall. If you don't have WPS on, they can't connect by trying to brute force the connection other than using WPA, and if the password's too complicated, they can't get back in. But does this prevent them from ever getting back in? Yes and no. It will make it definitely harder for them to connect back into your wireless network, but it's not completely impossible. For those wondering, is there any other recourse that you can do if you were legitimately hacked? Yes. You can go to your local police department and actually have it dealt with, since it is under most jurisdictions, especially in North America, illegal to connect to an encrypted or unencrypted wireless connection without the explicit consent of the actual broadcasting owner, basically the one who owns the router and the internet connection. If they do not have permission to be on the network, they're not allowed to be there. So if somebody asks you to connect, that's fine. If they don't, you can call the cops, you can file out reports, police reports and all that. You can iron out some details with your ISP, and better yet, you can use that just in case they downloaded a torrent and you're getting blamed for it. That will actually get you off the hook for anything you did not do, which is absolutely important. Now, the next thing I'm going to be talking about is the sponsor of the show, the ones that actually make it possible for me to bring you this kind of information and give you the solutions that you will need. And of course, if you want a torrent, you might want to use this instead of getting caught. So, by the way, you can download Linux legally, by the way. Not saying that you should download anything illegally, but just saying that at least they don't know what you're doing, your ISPs and everything else. So let's see. Now more than ever, your online freedom and privacy are under threat. Governments and ISPs want to control what you can or cannot see while keeping a detailed record of everything you do. Plus, that free Wi-Fi at the coffee house or airport terminal is putting you at risk because your passwords and sensitive data can be intercepted more easily than you might think. I just covered that. ProXpn is a global VPN that works with almost any internet connection. It creates a secure encrypted tunnel through which all your online data passes back and forth. Any online application can work. The ProXpn keeps including your web browser, email, file sharing, and instant messaging programs. ProXpn keeps everything you do online hidden from prying eyes, disguising your physical location and giving you unfettered access to any website or online service, no matter where you live or travel to. You can actually travel with this on your laptop and prevent anybody from snooping out what you're doing. It has a complete online privacy with 2048-bit encryption key and 512-bit encryption tunnel. Works with OpenVPN and PPTP. I know a bunch of you that listen to my show actually like OpenVPN. Protect yourself against your ISP 6 strikes rule. Very important in the United States. Bypass internet filtering, blocked websites, geographical restrictions for internet content, and online video with worldwide servers available in the US, there's a bunch of them, UK, Asia, and more. ProXpn's software for Windows and Mac offers advanced controls allowing you to select the programs and ports you want to anonymously route through ProXpn servers. That's true. And ProXpn also works with your iOS and Android device, allowing you to use your data plan or public corporate Wi-Fi with complete and total privacy on the go. No app required, but they do now have brand new apps on the iOS and Android platforms that you might want to try that are actually free. And they do actually have an amazing 24/7 customer support. So all you need to do is to go to proxpn.com/podcast for more information and to sign up. And I know they have a free option, but if you want to do a whole bunch of faster over the internet stuff, do some torrenting of downloading Linux distros or whatever you want on the internet, you're going to want this one. The ProXpn Premium, Takeaway Weekly watchers and listeners also get a free 30-day risk-free trial for the thing I'm talking about. Remember to visit proxpn.com/podcast and sign up with the coupon code TQAWEE. ProXpn premium accounts are normally $9.95 a month if you paid per month. $74.95 for the entire year, and we have a special offer for you. Use the coupon code TQAWEE and you will receive 20% off the entire lifetime of your account, where you get to download all the torrents that you want, listen to all the music and videos from other countries that you want, and better yet, get all the privacy you need for everything you want to do online. No matter what you're going to do online, you're going to have all the privacy you absolutely need. Thank you for watching and listening to this show. Remember to subscribe if you already haven't. And of course, if you have any PC woes, questions, comments, or suggestions, you can always send them to ask@tqaweekly.com or tqaweekly.com, which is my website. Goodbye and have a nice day.